Hello, I'm Andrew Hara, the host of the Bomb Squad. I wanted to tell you about my movies. All are available on Tubi, which is a free streaming service. The last one is a zombie drama about how a pandemic and isolation could drive a group of people mad. When the virus hits, John finds himself alone and scared until he meets Michael, his protector. But when Karina, another survivor, enters the mix, everything that John and Michael knew will be turned on its head. The last one is a zombie virus movie that's somehow even more relevant today. Plus, it has zombies. Check it out. Borderland is a mexploitation film about living in El Paso. When Sarah finds herself in debt to the cartels, she has until sunrise to find some missing monies with the help of her executioner. Borderland is a true midnight movie and a lot of fun. Finally, the documentary Humble Spirits tells the story of the Hahn family, including champion Jennifer Hahn from El Paso, Texas. The entire Hahn family has grown up in the combat sports and has helped shape who they are both in and out of the ring. Humble Spirits, a family of fighters, is the perfect documentary for boxing fans of all ages. Check out Tubi to watch all my films. Finally, The Empty Space, winner of multiple awards, including the Sacramento Horror Film Festival's Best of the Fest, is a cosmic horror about Amy Andrews, who's dealing with anxiety and depression after a violent attack that killed her husband. As she tries to find herself, she starts to lose her grasp on reality. Or could it be something much more sinister? The Empty Space is full of twists and turns, with Grace DeWilder of Rue Morgue magazine calling it a powerful film full of excellent performances by practically every cast member. All of Andrew Hada's movies are available to rent or buy on streaming services such as Tubi, Amazon, and many other places. We hope that you help support us by watching these films. Now, let's start the Bomb Squad. Welcome back, guys. The gang's all together, so stop ignoring our episodes.
I am the lifeblood of
we,
this podcast. I
we
just want
were
you
on a
guys to
good
know.
kick, and then we had one guest episode, and that was it for us.
You're the Stavros that makes
I
people
know.
not depressed.
William's always been the glue that holds this, because Josh is too big of a hater, and I'm just too lovable of a person.
Right.
So
No,
just
I'm right there in the middle.
The reverse.
William's right there in the middle to tell us that actually Southland Tales is good.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Bomb Squad, people. We are back on our week 2. We didn't want to take a break, so that's why we're actually on our technical week 3. But since we did Mindhunters last week, this is our official week 2 of gangsta films. We are doing all kinds, not mafia films, but gangster films, gangster on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And today we have one of the best films ever made
Honestly,
from
yeah.
1992. It's Deep Cover, directed by the one and only Bill Duke, who you remember from Commando and Predator. It was starring Lawrence Fishburne, Jeff Goldblum, and my favorite character actor of all time is Roger Genevieve Smith, who has played every single like shitty snake ever on everything, and he does not disappoint.
Who is that?
So he's the informant guy,
Oh.
Roger Gwenville Smith. He's also in like Do the Right Thing. He's in
The one who's
All About the
super coked up in a
Benjamins.
suit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the one who looks like he's literally doing coke every single scene.
Was he an
That
American
guy.
Gangster?
He's an American
Yeah,
gangster.
he is
played-
so
Yeah,
good in
yeah,
this
yeah.
movie. Oh my god.
He's from Tales
Yeah.
from the Crypt. He's in Poetic Justice. He kind of always plays this role, which I love about him.
Cool.
But I don't remember who did it last time, so we're gonna give it to William. William, tell us what Deep Cover.
William, explain the
Is
90s
about-
crack epidemic.
Yeah, I absolutely will. It's rife with a lot of elements and things. So this is another undercover cop film. Lawrence Fishburne plays
Larry Fishburne.
Larry
For the
Fishburne.
credits.
It was the last time he was ever credited as Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Trivia, guys, we're killing it today with our
Hell
facts.
yeah. So Larry Fishburne plays a character whose dad was killed while robbing a liquor store when he was a child. So he grows up hating alcohol and drugs and crime. So he becomes a cop, and then he has to go undercover, and he gets pretty fucking deep.
He gets in too deep.
He
Unlike
gets
the film
way
In Too
deeper.
Deep, he
Yeah,
gets extremely deep.
yeah. This
Remember
is like a
how?
real fucking crime movie. This was like epic as
Yeah.
fuck. This goes
Remember how Into
international.
Deep, we're like, well, what did he really do that was bad? You
Yeah.
don't have to ask that question in Deep Cover.
No.
He starts from bad, and even the State Department's like, go sell some drugs, buddy. What are you doing? What do you want
Yeah.
Yeah.
to take?
And he's like, all right, I'm
Yeah,
pretty fucking good at this.
I really like this movie. This movie's really good in that, and I've already said that it's one of the best movies of all time, so that kind of tells you where my thoughts are. But I really like that there's like a heightened sense of reality, especially in the flashbacks, like that first scene where Lawrence Fishburne's character is watching his dad. Like
Yeah.
I just it's so visual where he goes and robs a liquor store. He comes out and he's like telling the son, he's got the money and the gun in his hands. He's like, "Do you see? Do you see?" And then he gets shot,
Yeah.
and it's just such like it's not realistic, but it's almost like um that's how movies like, or that's like a way that you can kind of do this where it's super hyper realistic, you know, like the
Hmm.
whole movie is kind of this different colors, it's playing with a lot of things. And I think like, especially like when you compare it to Into Deep, which we saw last week, or a lot of these other gangster films that we'll eventually see, this movie is more stylized than a lot of them, and I think a lot of the other ones go for realistic cinematography and sound design and stuff. And I'm glad that
Yeah.
this one does not do that. You know?
Yeah. This one had a really cohesive vision, like the whole time, and like it just, I don't know, it felt really real at the same time as also being like super heightened. Like, there's a lot of people that are on drugs in this movie,
It
and
felt authentic.
yeah,
Yeah.
like watching these people that were supposed to be like on crack, I was like, this is like I've never knowingly not talked to somebody that was on crack that I knew was on crack. But like watching this movie, I was like, this is like gross. Like these
Yeah.
people, like they're so happy, but they're so sad, and it just was so,
And
I don't know. Like watching them, it just felt so real. Like it felt like the
yeah.
filmmakers like knew what they were talking about, and so like even though it does have that kind of like heightened feel, it also feels like it's coming from a place that these people know. Like it felt just
Yeah.
so genuine in a way
And
for a
I
crime
think
movie, especially.
yeah, I think especially like the way that, as someone who has talked to crackheads, it does kind of feel this way. It's like it's that greedy sweatiness where, like, you know, even when you're drunk, sometimes you can feel if you haven't done cocaine.
Yeah.
Which this episode is not getting monetized. But even when you're drunk, you know, you have that like sometimes when you're drunk, where you're trying to hide it, you're sweating, you know, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel gross. You're like, time to go.
Right.
That's how this whole movie feels. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like a gross film, and it's like there's that first scene, and it's again like they picked the actor. I don't know his name, but he's in Untouchables. He plays the accountant, and in this movie, he
Oh
kind of plays the cop who's overseeing Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, his
And the way,
boss. Yeah.
yes, the way it
God.
starts is that he asks, like, it's all African American cops or black cops, and he asks them like, what's the difference between a black person or the N word?
Yeah.
And like it's almost to get that immediate reaction. And like when you see that scene compared to the scene in Into Deep, where it's just basically like, hey, I applied for your job, he's like, oh cool, come in on Monday.
Right.
It's such a different feel, and like
Yeah.
one of them feels like they had to put that scene in the movie because that scene, like, you have to put it in there. And
Mhm.
one of them feels like we have to put this scene in this movie, but how do we make it interesting? How
Right.
do
Yeah.
we say
How
something
do, how do
about
we
the
like
character?
contextualize? Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like his boss basically like refers to himself as God for the
Yeah.
first half of the movie.
He doesn't
Like,
basically. He does call himself.
well, he literally
God.
calls
Many
himself
times.
God,
Yeah.
and it is kind of like it's like it's true because even when Lawrence Fishburne Larry starts doing horrible crimes,
Mhm.
the cops already know about it. He's like, I don't care. He could like kill people. He's like, it's just this
Yeah.
very
It's
like
fine.
he's
It's
like, I
fine.
already knew about it. I'm God. It's fine.
Yeah.
I
You know?
think it brings up another point, which again is missing and In Too Deep, and I think that's probably why it doesn't work as well. Is Jeff Goldblum plays David Jason in one of his best roles. Ian
Yeah.
Malcolm, move aside because there's fucking David Jason in this.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, like it's Jeff Goldblum and Fishburne are the two main characters. And as I was watching, I was like, this might be the best movie both of them are in. And I say that loving Jurassic Park,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
loving The Matrix.
The Matrix exists, so
Yeah, The
let's
Fly.
let's not go. I mean,
Well,
we're praising this movie, and you made us now have to reassess that praise
no,
for no
No, he's great.
reason.
this might be their best performances together.
It might
Yeah.
be. It might be.
Yeah.
But and it's that thing where so Jeff Goldblum plays David Jason, who is a rich lawyer who is
Hmm.
Jewish. They remind us multiple times in the
So many
movie.
times. Yeah. Bar mitzvah
um,
boy.
but and I think that that's the thing. Like from God, and then you have David Jason, who he's playing a lawyer who works with the cartels, and
Hmm.
kind of he's playing cartel with the real cartels.
Yeah,
But
he's like pretty
I
deep himself, even when we
yeah,
first meet him.
exactly. And I think that's such an important thing. American Gangster does this too. Is that if you're going to talk about really want to talk about the drug trade, you have to bring up the privileged and how they take advantage of the underprivileged, you know? And
Yeah.
even in this movie, it's all drug dealers, but you see how David gets in because of his lawyer skills, and you see how God takes advantage of Russell or Lawrence Fishburne's character. Like
Hmm.
just the fact, even calling him a slur to try to get him the job, it's this constant test. And the only one who ever has to pass or fail is Lawrence Fishburne,
Right.
which is even funnier when you realize he's also the only one who actually lives in the environment that all these people are playing in. And
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that that makes the movie so much better. It makes it smarter. It makes it more interesting. And I think overall, it adds a level of realism, like William was saying,
Hmm.
that the other movie just didn't have.
Yeah, this felt like it was based on a true story. Like whenever I was like,
Right.
there was a part in the middle of the movie where I was just like, "Is this fucking real?" And like I had to look it up, and it was like, it just says story by a screenplay by. It didn't say it was like based on anything. But I think exactly what you're saying about like Larry Fishburne's the only person who like lives in this environment. Like not spoilery, but at the end of the movie, a character says a line that's like, "There's no American, there's no black person, there's no white person. There's just rich people and poor people." And I think that you could even go farther and say there's just powerful people and poor people because like the
Right.
cops like aren't that rich, but
Right.
like it's all just about like how can we take advantage? How can we not be poor? How can we not be
Yeah.
someone who's being taken advantage of? How can we not get fucked over? And it's just by using people constantly and
Yeah.
setting people up for disaster. And I feel like Lawrence Fishburne's whole character is just constantly trying to not get fucked. Like that's
Yeah.
just like what his whole movie is. And
And,
it's
yeah.
harrowing to watch. It's great.
It's
Yeah.
and one thing too it does really well is show and again In Too Deep doesn't do this. We're just gonna shit on In Too Deep so much in this, but like no,
I know.
basically it's like
Don't call it a comeback.
it's not just like oh is the the rival like dealer's gonna get over on him. It's like no, like he has to figure out like is working for the State Department just as immoral as working like as a drug
Right.
dealer, and it truly it does present it in a way where it's like kind of not really, it doesn't really matter. And I mean ultimately
Hmm.
he like has like a different moral thing, but for a while you're like yeah it does kind of seem like being a cop would be pointless because you're not
Right.
making a
Right.
difference,
Right.
Yeah, and I think like at the beginning we see Lawrence Fishburne. And he's trying to like work his way in, and that's where he meets with that Roger guy who's kind of he's in or he's a drug dealer, but he's kind of like nobody trusts him, but he's very street level, and that's how
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne like uses him to get in. And
Yeah.
so he's kind of working his way through these criminals. And I want to say, so we're talking about how realistic this is. So at the very beginning, Lawrence Fishburne is living in this kind of like shitty house that he can only afford, and he has a neighbor who's Mexican, and she has a kid,
Hmm.
and everyone knows him as a drug dealer at this point, and she's like telling him, she's clearly doesn't take care of this kid. He asks him, "What did you eat today?" and he ate like a soda or something,
Yeah.
and then Lawrence Fishburne gives him money, and Lawrence Fishburne tells him to go get a chicken tostada and milk?
Yeah.
No, Lawrence Fishburne. Nobody would ever eat a chicken tostada and milk. That sounds like the grossest meal of all time. No wonder this kid hates his life.
He doesn't
Because then he's
Right. The
giving
only
him
one
understand the
who cares about him
culture.
wants him to eat fucked up shit.
He's just guessing.
because he goes,
Yeah.
"Why don't you go across the street and get you a chimichanga?" And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Or chicken tostada." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well," he's like,
Okay.
"And some milk." And I was like,
But even the
"Fine."
kid is like, I don't like milk. And he's like, well, just get it anyways. He literally tells him, get it anyways. Have it later, I guess.
just destroy the toilet later. That scene is actually
Yeah.
super dark because then the mom's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're a nice guy. You want to be a role model for my son, and I sell him to you."
Yeah, he'll
Right.
just show up
Not
to
like
sell.
watch him every once in a
For
while.
yeah, just literally for $3,000,
Yeah.
take my son, and then she lowers it to 2,000. Obviously,
And
just
Yeah.
leaves. But
I
yeah,
think it's such a funny scene because it's that scene, and then right after it cuts to David being confronted by the drug dealers because Roger Smith has been caught by the police and they think he's going to turn because
Mhm.
nobody trusts this guy. And so the drug dealers are there with and he's there with his wife and kids. And it's like the whole time, Jeff Goldblum's like, don't ever come to my house again and put my kids in this threat, you know?
Yeah.
But that juxtaposition, kind of like how The Departed does it too, where it's like, David, like in David's world, you don't even see the kids,
Right,
and
right.
in
They go to
Russell's
school.
world,
They
yeah,
do multiplication tables at the dinner table.
in Russell's world, while they're going to get the only food they've had all day, they're being sold to who knows who, you know, and it's
Right.
like that kind of darkness makes the film that much worse whenever you're watching it, you know,
Yeah.
and so then they bring them all together, and that's where we meet one of the cartel guys,
the
and he's come in.
Felix.
Felix
Yeah,
has come in to like he wants to punish this guy. And I think it's funny because like that guy, like he's like, oh man, I just gave up Lawrence Fishburne. Who cares? Like he
Right.
just tells them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so and then like they kind of do that thing where they pretend everything's okay. But it's very funny because Roger Smith, and this is why he's again one of the best character actors. He has a line where he goes, yeah, man, I put on what my suit and tie like everyone else. And it's like you're a drug dealer, Roger.
Right.
You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah,
I
he wears
also
that same
like
suit the whole fucking movie. I thought he
right,
was like a
just
businessman. I was
fully
like, who the
coked
fuck is
up.
this guy?
I love
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
too when he realizes he's screwed, and he kind of half-heartedly tries to kill Felix with a
Yeah,
fork.
stabs him with a fork.
But they're like,
And
"Come
he
on,
actually gets
man,
him.
don't!" And it like it makes him bleed, but everyone's just kind of annoyed. It's
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
And he's always telling jokes before he gets in trouble. And like my
I know.
favorite part was whenever he Lawrence Fishburne is like, I go to the bars, the usual places, and Roger started talking to me just like I knew he would. And
Yeah.
Roger like goes up to him and it's just like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And like I'm just like the way he talks to him, and like
Yeah.
this might be kind of fucked up for me to say this, but he's like going on riff, 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 and then he's just like, "Stay black," and then he runs away. And it's just like, like that was so
And there,
fucking funny. Like that was the
there's
funniest shit I ever heard.
and he knows that his life is being threatened. He's
Yeah,
about to die. But yet he tells one of Felix's little guys, he goes, "You ain't had pussy since pussy had you."
yeah.
It's like,
He's like that
what does
little
that
fucking
even
guy.
mean?
I know.
I do also so Felix, and this is a very good staple of '90s films. Felix is a drug dealer, but he also has like a little Italian sidekick that he just brings along.
He looks like
And
Billy
even though he's a
Wilder.
cartel guy,
Yeah,
he looks like Truman Capote,
yeah.
and he acts like Truman Capote.
who like
Fucking love that
without
guy.
spoilers, this guy like makes it through the whole movie just totally like he's never in danger. He's just kind of around, and everyone's like,
He's
"Hey,
just
Yeah.
he's here," you
Hey,
know.
what's up?
he's always the main guy's second in command, and the main guy switches like three
Yeah,
times,
no
and
matter who
he
the
just
boss
stays
is,
in
he's
his role.
like,
Yeah.
"Happy to be aboard, sir." I love
Yeah.
He's
it.
like, listen, I don't want a promotion. I'm happy here. Just
I'm good,
whoever, just tell
baby.
me what to do.
I'm the
You, you, you,
secretary for all of you.
you know what I really love too, because you kind of talk about like like how like Jeff Goldblum, David Jason is a pretty normal white collar lawyer who's just like, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of money with the cartel, but I'm still like a yuppie or whatever. So like that
Yeah.
my life
Yeah.
is, and it if you've seen any Jeff Goldblum role in the past 20 years, he plays Jeff Goldblum. In this movie, he's not doing that. He's definitely playing this guy. But then as he starts to get kind of more and more involved in the business and just doing coke all the time, him on coke becomes Jeff Goldblum, and that's
Yeah.
such a like a
Yeah.
fun detail. Like, oh, Jeff Goldblum's just been doing a guy coked up impression for the past like 20 plus years. Even Ian Malcolm is just that,
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
Yeah.
his role in The Fly is so much like that too. Like just
Mhm.
yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
fucking
Where he's a
stop
normal guy,
talking.
and then it's like he's just like, oh, act crazy. Oh, just act like a guy who does a lot of coke. Got it.
Yeah, yeah. He's like a more tame Nicolas
And,
Cage in that way.
and I think
Yeah.
that it's interesting, especially with how like he does like you don't just see Russell get corrupted, but you also see David get corrupted because at the beginning he's pretty smart. He has like a pretty good head on his table. Like, yeah, he does drugs. Yeah, he deals with the dealers,
Hmm.
but he's smart enough that you can easily see why he's been approached by these people. And by the end of
Right.
it,
He's
he's
smart.
such a mess that
Yeah.
like he doesn't even look like like
he
he doesn't even look like he knows what his next move is.
he's like,
Right.
and he
Right.
also like, because it goes from like kind of the standard like, oh, just like get like a suit and tie, to like he looks like Satan. He has like slicked
Yeah,
back hair, a
Yeah.
giant leather trench coat. It is like perfect.
I
I just
know.
love it.
and then
And he's
I do want to say, oh, go ahead, William.
well, just like the one last thing, like he's one of his big thing that he wants to do is make a synthetic drug that's essentially
Mhm.
like coke, but you don't have to grow it. And he's walking into his little office with Lawrence Fishburne. This is after he and Lawrence Fishburne have become friends, and he's like, "So imagine you go to work and you take this drug, not a big deal, and you just work better than you ever have, and it's totally made in a lab." And I was like, "Okay, so we made Adderall back in the fucking nineties. It was
He was
done,
ahead of his
Goldblum.
time.
We
It's also
believed
like,
you."
hey David, they would make it illegal immediately. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they can't change laws.
Yeah.
Like of course they're gonna make that illegal. It's cocaine. It's just like another synthetic.
Right. And then Bradley Cooper saw that and
Also,
was like, I'll make this movie called Limitless. It's going to be okay.
and I will say, like, one of the cool things, and speaking about that is kind of what I want to talk about next, is one of the best things about this movie is it has like really good cinematography. Like
Hmm.
in that scene where David's just kind of going to show him his synthetic drugs and kind of his plan, they're walking through David's law library and they've lit it completely red. And it's this kind of like you almost feel like you're walking through hell. And
Yeah.
then just the fact that it's juxtaposition with the fact that they're literally surrounded by the law,
Yeah.
talking
And
about
the
how they're
cases are like a maze when they walk through it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And so and there's like so many scenes in here where like the colors are super vibrant. Sometimes David's completely shadowed in red. There's a scene later that we'll talk about where he even has the bisexual colors of pink and blue when he's in a
Yeah.
nightclub.
Yeah,
It just
they
looks
even
every scene
like,
looks amazing.
because you talked about the taco truck earlier. Even the taco truck is this super stylized field of
Yeah.
cactuses that say tacos
Yeah.
that like
Right.
light everything beneath them. It's like, God, guys, even for this taco truck, you're like going this hard. It's
And I love
incredible.
Yeah.
You
how,
know?
So
yeah.
good. Felt so
And that
out of time, out of this world. It felt
I
like
Yeah.
just
know.
like a fantasy land. A
And
fucked
it
up
makes
one.
it feel like, I mean, this movie is 1992. It's been quite a bit of time since then, but it still
Yeah.
feels so fresh and so vibrant. And I think that a lot of that has to do with Bill Duke. His cinematography is amazing. Like the fact that they went with this kind of color.
Yeah.
Um,
They
another
they
thing.
also do a lot
Oh,
of
go ahead.
wipes.
Yeah,
A
Yeah,
they
it's
do
lot,
like
one
people
a
really
lot.
walking
cool
through
wipe
stuff.
Oh
where
yeah,
it's
they would
someone
do the
walking.
walking guy wipe.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's so good.
I will say so. Right after that they go meet Victoria Dillard, who is also the secretary on Spin City, which to me is very hard.
I mean, similar character, similar personality.
Yeah. Oh, she
Yeah.
was in Spin City for sure. And so it's hard for me to not see her in Spin City. But
Yeah.
she plays like this drug dealer and or she's like helping them launder the cash.
Yeah, she works like in an
And
art gallery that I
yeah,
don't
it's an
know
art
if
gallery. I
he
remember
owns
because
or
Jeff
not.
Goldblum picks up the mask and starts doing a
yeah.
voice, and you're like, oh, there's Goldblum.
And
Yeah.
also Jeff Goldblum has a weird fascination with black people in this
Hmm.
movie and it makes his character even weirder.
Yeah.
There's like a scene where he tells Lawrence Fishburne like they've just finished having sex with a woman, and he goes, "Oh, I really like having sex with black girls." And then Lawrence Fishburne goes, "Oh, does it feel like you're having sex with a slave?" And then Jeff Goldblum goes, "You mean like a bondage thing?"
Yeah. He's like, no, that's not what I fucking mean, you
He
idiot.
goes, "No, not a bondage thing, David." It's just such like Jeff Goldblum is so like he doesn't understand that he's a white guy in this movie
Right.
that he
Yeah.
Right.
says the most racist shit
He trolls
throughout
him
the
like
whole
a
movie.
sexy pan. He's like, you're like a dangerous jungle panther,
Yeah.
just running in
He's
the
so
wild
good.
jungle. And Lawrence Fishburne's like, all right, shut the fuck up for real.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne is like not having
I
any
love
of it.
that like complimentary white guy racism where it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying good things. You know,
And
it's so
in
It's
good.
badass, dude.
in that scene when he meets Betty or Victoria Dillard's character, she goes, "You look like a cop," and he goes, "Looks like we got to get out of here." And earlier, when David is showing him the synthetic thing, he asks him something. David goes, "How do you know this, Lawrence Fishburne?" And Lawrence Fishburne goes, "Because I'm a cop."
Yeah.
And like literally every character that knows who meets Lawrence Fishburne is like, "This guy looks like a cop." And I
Yeah.
think like It's so funny that Lawrence Fishburne's like whole undercover plan is to just ignore when they ask him if he's a cop and go, yeah, and
Right.
then just keep
Yeah,
doing
like
like illegal shit.
sarcastically say the truth and then
Yeah.
hope that they just think he's joking, and it works 100% of the
And it
time.
always
Yeah.
works. That's the
Um,
lesson to you
you,
cops.
you know, we
Right.
haven't even
Right.
talked about this, but in terms of just this movie's like just kind of like almost fantastical like sensibilities, his main thing before he's like a big time dealer is there's a rival dealer. I don't even remember this guy's name.
Oh,
This
Black Arnold.
this guy is
Was that his
incredible.
name?
No, but he called himself that
Oh.
once.
He calls himself Black Arnold. It's like this guy in a Cadillac with
Mhm. Got a
um,
chain.
like a white henchman girlfriend wearing kind of like a pilot's cap.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
who's like
Yeah.
his bodyguard. It's very super villainy, and
And this
Yeah.
guy's super jacked. He
Yeah.
always wears a tank top.
he has a
If
huge
that.
chains,
He has huge chains.
slicked back ponytail.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is a great look,
And
and the
he
way they resolve the conflict, incredible.
well, at first he gets in a fight with Lawrence Fishburne, and he points at Lawrence Fishburne and goes, "I'll be back," like Arnold.
Yeah. He goes, you can rent that at your local video store.
Yes, it was
I was
92.
like,
They were just
what?
now a thing. I
Yeah.
love
And
it.
so that's the first one, and they get in a fight where he kills one of the dealers, and not only does he kill a dealer, but he shoots her, and he goes, "Hey, I told you I'd be back," and
Yeah.
he shoots her, and then he points his gun in the air as he's driving his convertible, and he goes, "Wild West."
Yeah. He does fucking say that shit.
He's such a character.
I
But
didn't
like,
pick up on the. I didn't pick up on the. I told you I'd be
Oh
back part. I
yeah,
didn't pick up on that at all.
but that
and
like, yeah, oh yeah, go ahead.
oh, and so then they figure out that like, oh yeah, they have to kill him, which again brings up another great scene that apparently takes place in the same club that Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Use takes place in.
The Vanilla
Because
Ice concert.
yeah, it looks
Oh.
strikingly similar to that scene.
There's only so many sets you can film on in the early 90s, all right?
I will say the 90s was very heavy on like, what does that club look like? Well, it looks industrial. It's very dark.
Yeah.
It's all made of concrete. It's like, I don't think that's what any club ever would look like.
Right. Right.
The 90s were convinced.
Yeah, we're going with it, guys. Don't worry. That was
But
the
like,
one. Like that was like it's hard to put like a music scene in a movie, and like
Yeah.
whenever they focus too much on like the rapper, like at the club, it's like let's get on with this. Let's get on.
Yeah, and that leads us into one of the best scenes ever put on film, where Lawrence Fishburne confronts the Black Arnold, and he turns around wearing some kind of shirt that looks like it's already drenched in blood.
Yeah,
and
I thought he
red
was
all
sweaty.
over.
I thought, yeah,
He
it's
was
like he
sweaty.
sweated so much
Yeah.
through
He's
it.
only sweaty in parts.
It,
It's so
it
weird.
is a bizarre look. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he tells Lawrence Fishburne, he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And then he pisses on him, and
He
then
starts
takes out
pissing
dick.
on his shoes because he
Yeah.
never put his dick away from the urinal.
Right, and he still
No,
had
no, no.
piss.
He does. He pulls it back out to piss on him.
Okay.
Right.
And then he tells him, "Do you want to suck it?" Then he pisses on him. Then he says, "Go ahead and suck it." And then Lawrence Fishburne has been frozen this whole time, giving Black Arnold multiple chances to kill him.
Yeah.
But instead, he just keeps getting closer, and then he goes, "What are you awake, fool?"
Yeah.
And Lawrence Fishburne kicks him and shoots him.
Yeah, he pulls out. It's a silenced pistol.
Yes.
And then he
It's a
shoots
silence
him.
like revolver.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is like it looks crazy. This movie, even the guns look cool. They don't even
Yeah.
look like generic movie guns.
It's
Right.
so funny that the Black Arnold character had to wake up his assassin.
I know, he's like, "Come on, man, we doing
Fuck,
this
dude."
assassination or what?" Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he gets shot, he just kind of seems very mildly annoyed that this actually happened. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
did
thought
it."
that was great. Like he's like
Yeah.
just like when he's laying on the floor, like literally dying. He's just like, "You're a bitch." Like that's
Yeah.
all he says. But it's like you can just like see the shock. Like he's just like, "Fuck, dude, I actually got fucking shot." Like
I know.
it felt real, but also goofy. But
But like
good.
I think
it's
that
almost
makes it
like
real.
hyper
Yeah.
real, like this,
Yeah.
because this guy knows he's gonna die this way at some point, and it's just he's
Right.
kind of like, "Oh, you're the one. Okay, that's
God
weird."
damn. Yeah. And he
And I
looked so
think,
happy
like-
when he was dancing in the music too. Like
I
he
know.
spies him and he's just like just genuine joy as he's like jamming to the tunes.
Rest in
I just
peace,
like the idea
Black
too
Arnold.
that this guy
Yeah.
shot someone and then was like, "Club? He's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lay low. I'm just going
Right.
out in
All
style.
good, baby.
With his, I don't think you ever see his white henchman girlfriend again.
No, not after that scene.
No, didn't she
But
die? Didn't she get shot?
I actually do not
no,
remember.
No,
I
she
don't
didn't.
think
I don't
so.
think she
She
did
drives
either.
away and then they're
Yeah.
dancing. I don't think so. And so, but while that's happening, David is also having problems with the cartel because they kind of want to. They don't trust him. They think he's getting too big, and so they talk to their cops and they're like, "Oh, let's do an arrest and just kill David. Like, you can go ahead and kill him."
Hmm.
And it's also funny. Like one of the most stark. It's like that scene in Oppenheimer where they're like, "Oh, don't pick this Japanese place because we visit there." Because
Yeah.
they're talking
Right.
like they're like, oh yeah, we have to give someone up because it's like the cartels are working with the cops, and every once in a while the cops need like blood,
Yeah.
and so they're like, okay, well, do you have any blacks? Do you have any Jews?
Yeah.
Like oh, the blacks will go real well over with the Republicans, and it's
Yeah.
just like how grim is that scene?
I
Like they're
know.
just talking about trading, taking away, and I mean, I guess they're drug dealers, so who cares? But at the
Yeah.
same time they're still people.
Yeah.
Like it's so
Exactly.
dark.
Yeah,
They're the poor people.
Yeah.
They're the non powerful people for sure.
And so, but of course, God knows about it, and so He lets them know, and so they go take their revenge at this thing. And also, like their plan was to just do the deal, and then at the end, hope that it didn't go bad, like
Yeah.
because they all seem to be improvising like
Yeah,
that
it's all
whole time.
very
Right.
well,
Right.
and this is actually they almost do. And this is actually a weird scene. Just before this, where like David and it's his name is John. His undercover name's John Hole or Jack
Yeah,
Hole, but yeah, they meet with like the cartel guys, and they meet them at this like closed down Italian restaurant where a woman is dressed like a nun stripping on stage, and it's like
Yeah.
just super stylized, but.
No one's watching
Um,
her.
no, that happened.
yeah, no one gives a shit. And then to show that like Felix, the main cartel guy, is a dick who's just gonna kill them eventually. He like kind of like power moves David. He's like, "Hey, David, you want to play a game?" And he plays that like Knuckles game
Oh
where you have
Yeah.
to like,
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one of those weird like because the reaction David gets to getting his knuckles hit is like, ah, and it's like I've played
Right.
that game. It's annoying. You're not gonna like hurt
I
that
thought he
guy.
had like brass knuckles on or something at first. I was like,
yeah. You
what the
could
fuck?
because his knuckles were
It's
bleeding, so they were
yeah,
cut.
yeah. There's like
Yeah.
As
there's something here, but they didn't show anything in his
Right.
hands.
as
Right.
as
Yeah,
someone who's gotten in fights, once you cut your knuckles, that is super painful. It would hurt like
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
and it's like,
Everything
and I
did.
totally get that, but it was weird. It's like this is the way you're gonna do it.
Oh,
There's so many ways you could show up
I know,
getting.
but I think again, I think that makes it like there again, like Josh just said. There's so many ways you could have done it, but the way they do it feels like kind of so silly that it makes
Yeah.
it feel realistic.
That it
Like
makes
it's
it feel
such a
like yeah, like
weird, yeah,
almost more serious because it's like
yeah.
oh he
Right.
got like demoralized at this stupid game, like
It's the
Yeah.
ruined
same
his
thing with
night.
the chicken tostada thing, where it's like, I don't think that was in the script. I just think that Lawrence Fishburne likes chicken tostadas, and that's
Right.
what,
Right.
like, that's his order, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I had one yesterday. It was pretty good, kid. You should
yeah.
try it
And
with
maybe
some
Bilduke
milk.
was like, you know what hurts is when you hit someone on the hands. Like, when he does
Yeah.
that in a movie, that,
No one's ever done that.
yeah,
But yeah, that basically yeah leads to like the State Department God going like, hey, yeah, we're definitely gonna bust everyone, and he's like, no,
right.
Yeah.
don't do it. Like it's gonna work out, and they do it anyway, and then he's just what the solution is just like everyone get in a limo. I'm gonna outrun the cops, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a crazy ass scene
Yeah,
It does
in the
kind of
LA
work.
tunnel and stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. That's like, and that's one of that's almost the because like it's been like this mounting thing for Jeff Goldblum's character, like this whole where it's like he's getting more in deep. That's the scene where he fully turns.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
he's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going to kill Felix. Like he just has a gun on him in the car, and it's just such
Yeah,
a
and
good
he's
scene.
like
'Cause
Yeah.
shooting him.
he's like,
Yeah.
get out, and he's like, all right, slow down. He's like, no, I'm not slowing down. Get out of the car, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's like the end
Felix
of Act
Felix's
2.
death here is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Felix gets kicked out of the car, and then
Oh,
David shoots him in
yes.
the
But no,
butt.
first he shoots him in the hands as revenge for the knuckles.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he's like, "Get out!" And then Felix is at the door, like hesitating, and then he shoots him in the ass to
Yeah.
get
Oh,
enough. He gets out. He immediately like gets up, and then a cop car just hits him at like 100 miles an hour, instantly killing him.
yeah.
It's
Fucking Meet
Yeah.
Joe Black
the
style.
police are very upset with Mr. Fishburne after this.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then you find out, oh yeah, he was an informant, and they knew about it, and it was like, so what's even the point of this? And like one of
Right.
the best scenes in the movie is after that, like they're kind of like, so David's like, okay, now we have enough evidence, we could take down all these guys, and that's when God tells them like, oh no, the guy we originally wanted you to take down, like the head of the thing, we like him now, we want him to run for
Right.
Yeah,
president. So
yeah. He's like
Yeah.
he's like going to be the next governor of his country, and it's just
yeah,
Yeah.
like God. That's so perfect. Perfect
Yeah.
and
scene.
it's that thing where like at this point, and I mean, it's I don't know if it happens, but it felt super realistic where it's like you this person who was so bad that like the State Department was allowing David to sell drugs and kill people, and they're
Hmm.
letting Lawrence Fishburne kind of partake in all that, and now it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
now, oh, it's fine. Like
You're
that guy's
like,
actually your
yeah,
friend
the
now.
politics changed slightly. Not only
Right.
that, but because then even like Fishburne's like, well, then what am I doing this for? Like literally, what is in it for me if we're not doing this like for the right reasons? He's like, well, you'll just come with me to like the State Department and like we have a bigger budget. He's like, if it's just money and power, I already have that. I'm like a huge drug dealer. Like this is
Right.
pointless. Like,
Yeah.
and it's
He also tells them like I
it's
could make that money in like a day. What did you
right.
offering in
And it's
Right.
just yeah, no, it's like the best like shift in the movie because everything goes completely off the rails after this point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
realistically, the State Department was doing that in South America during the 90s. They were
Right.
absolutely doing all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing it.
Yeah, they
They
stopped.
were.
Wait,
They've stopped.
wait.
Everything's cool now, guys. Government's fucking tight now. Everyone's nice.
Uh, but and it's like, and I think that again that makes it super cool, and it also like because when we're watching Into Deep, there was it never felt like there was a reason for Omar Epps to go into the dark side other than he liked the people, but like he didn't really like he wasn't making a ton of money. Where in this one, it's like, yeah, to see where Russell starts and to see where he ends is like, of course, that's a hard decision,
Yeah, it's an
especially when your
Yeah.
insanely
boss
like good
tells you,
life.
yeah, like who cares about what happened? Like it doesn't matter. It's
Right.
like, well, if my options are to go to the State Department and wear a tie, or to go with David and
Yeah.
fuck shit up, I'm gonna go with David every
Also,
time.
I just
So
realized that this is like the perfect companion piece to like these two movies because in this, the State Department guy calls himself God. In Too Deep, LL Cool
Yeah.
J
LL
calls
Cool J
right.
calls
himself
I
himself
wonder if it
God.
God.
was. I
So
wonder if
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a
yeah,
throwback to that.
It could be.
that's such a weird like ideological shift.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, so then like the guys who are above Barbosa come in and they're like, "Oh, you owe us money now,"
yeah, the
and they
actual
tell
cartel
him
guy from like South
actual cartel
America.
and the ones
Right.
that they
Right.
want to stop. And so they're like, "You need to get us $2 million or something, but in
Yeah.
24 hours." And I really like. There's one scene where they're talking. Or there's okay before they get to the main guy, they get to another guy, and there's one scene where they're talking, and like they find out from the little sidekick that it wasn't $2 million, it was $1 million,
Right.
barely.
Yeah.
And then so they go tell the guy, they're like, "Oh, we have your 1 million. We found out it was just 1 million." And the drug dealer said something that I thought was a great line, where he goes, "If I say it's 1.8 million, it's 1.8 million.
Yeah.
If I say I want 1 million tomorrow, I want 1 million tomorrow." And
Hmm.
it's like that happens so much in movies, but no drug dealer ever just tells you straight to your face, like, "I don't care." I'm fucking
Right.
with
It's
you. Like,
we're not here for the truth. This is all fucking
yeah.
Yeah,
illegal.
it's like this
Like,
is I don't kill you money, but also I'm
And
still probably gonna
yeah,
kill you.
you're gonna
Yeah.
I love
deport me
that they,
too,
and then
you
he's just sitting
dumbass.
there like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And then they do something about it. Like they kill
Yeah.
the shit out of him.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
and he's like they're like his private movie theater too. Like
Yeah.
every set they go to in this movie
Yeah,
is cool in some way. I think that's like
Right.
yeah,
it's not just like an In Too Deep. That scene would have just taken place in like the guy's living room, you know. And it's
Yeah.
like they're
right,
like,
Yeah.
no, he's going to be watching a Spanish movie in his private movie theater when you
yeah.
decide to
Right.
shoot the place up, you know.
So
Yeah.
then the final cartel boss gets there, and that's where David looks like Count Dracula, where he's wearing all black.
Yeah. With the slicked back
and
hair, leather
and
jacket.
then they're like, "Okay, we have your money," and the main drug dealer tells him something about God. And then David has a line that says, "The same people who taught us virtue are holding us back." It's like,
Yeah.
thanks, David. We're doing a drug deal right now. We can't really talk about that kind of stuff, but
I leave when shit gets too philosophical.
It's like, well, that guy, like, because it's like that guy
He's
was
all the way.
the cartel guy they killed. That was this guy's nephew, and this guy's basically so high up. He's like dining with George Bush, George H.W.
Right. He's
Bush,
like a
because this is
president of his
'92,
country. Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the next like president of my country. Like
Yeah.
it's and he's like, but it's like, oh, but you're a drug dealer. And this like one cop who's kind of barely in the movie, kind of like has been tailing Larry Fishburne. Who's like, oh, we can't like arrest this guy because he has diplomatic plates, but we can take the drugs, and that's
Yeah.
kind of where it starts to go wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That one cop is played by Clarence Williams III, one of the best actors. So.
Right.
From Tales from the Hood, he's the narrator
He
from
was
Tales from the
also
Hood.
in American
Yeah.
Gangsta.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. He plays Denzel's
plays-
mentor.
He plays Bookie Jonesy.
Yes.
he's literally the
he's always
devil
good.
in Tales from the Hood.
He's also
That's-
like
that's
this is
better.
it's so funny because those two roles are so big and he's so big. This role's so understated that it's like the opposite of
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, which like
But
why don't you
that
bring
almost
some of
makes
your
it work
craziness?
because he's the only good voice in David's head, being like,
Yeah.
hey.
He's the humanity in the
Literally
movie, for
what
sure.
like you can still do the right thing. Like I know like that capacity exists within you.
Right.
And that actually is what causes David or what causes Larry Fishburne to do the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they shoot that cop a million times. Spoilers.
Mhm.
They do. And then
then
yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne's trying to like bring him back to life, which is pretty funny because he has like a billion bullets.
He has like
in him.
7 or 8 bullet
Yeah.
holes,
He's
and
not
then
gonna make it.
yeah, Jeff Goldblum's just like, "Come on, man!" and just shoots him in the heart. He's like,
Right.
That's
You're not a
It's
cop.
not a-
It's fine. Let's just go be.
yeah,
friends."
because Larry Fishburne's like, you don't understand. I've been a cop the whole time. He's like, you're in so deep that does not matter if you're a cop.
Right,
Just
right.
fucking.
It's in a hilarious, almost very true turn of events. David goes, "I don't care if you're a cop. It's $500 million. Get in the car."
Right.
Yeah.
There's like a moment where he hears cop and he goes, "It's fine." Like,
Yeah, like
it's like this moment of like just
he does not.
nah,
care.
it's cool, all good, motherfucker.
So good.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I love it.
Don't
and
fuck this
also,
up.
Yeah. I just love that he's like, okay, let's. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, are we going or what?
Yeah.
And then and then so at the very end, this is the only part that didn't feel that realistic, where there's a hearing at the end. But one of
Yeah.
my favorite things about this movie is that the whole time, Lawrence Fishburne has been narrating like parts of the movie, and you find out at the end that he's been talking to Congress and he's kind of been giving his deposition or whatever. And you're like, oh, that's what the narration is. But let me just read you one of the narration lines. The jungle creed says the strongest feed on any prey that it can. And I was branded beast at every feast before I ever became a man. Now, if you hear that through Lawrence Fishburne's voice, it sounds poetic.
Badass. Yeah.
Oh
when
yeah,
you read it, you're like, what the fuck does that mean?
This is
we
a
haven't
court of
actually-
law, sir.
we haven't actually covered this, but the whole movie is narrated by him like this, like where it's just
Yeah.
all poems and metaphors, and it's like it's great because it's like this kind of noir. But that I think that's almost why the ending doesn't totally hit because it's like, well, if you're
Yeah.
doing this noir, it almost shouldn't have as happy an ending as it has.
Yeah,
Like it
I
shouldn't
agree.
work out that well for him because.
Mhm.
Like because he's basically he talks to the State Department guy again. He's like, all right, as long as me and the girl walk,
Girl.
like
Yeah, they should have still covered it up.
I'll say what you want to say. I'll like
Yeah.
testify and I'll cover up any bad like wrongdoing. But then he doesn't. He's been recording that diplomat the whole time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna like embarrass Congress." It's like, well, they would just pull the deal then. They would just throw
Right.
him in
Yeah, they just
jail.
throw you back in jail.
I agree.
And then-
I definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
There's
It's-
also like a funny scene where so like then they're all walking away and God he comes back to Dave. He's like, "What did you do? You ruined my career." And
Yeah.
he goes, "I know you took some of that money. Where is it?" And David's like, I keep it. I'm not gonna tell you." And it's like,
Yeah.
David, you should not have said this. Like you're going to jail. Like,
Right.
Why would
That-
you tell him?
that's
stole
like-
my
God.
money?
But that is like an interesting because he's like, oh, I kept what like 8 million or something. It was like some small amount of the like half of the bill that he kept. But he's like, it's like, well, if I keep it, I'm technically a criminal. But if I turn it in, I'm a fool.
I'm
Like
a
that'd be
fool,
stupid.
right.
what would you do? And the movie just ends. Like you never
Yeah,
find out
yeah.
what
The movie
actually
does not end
happens,
there
which I think is the
because
best
right
way to do
before
it.
that, you found out that he does not have $8 million. He has 7,900,000, whatever 8 million minus $3,000 is, because he has a little kid at the end.
Well, no,
Oh, well, the
that girl
mom died. The
died.
mom
I
died.
know, but when I watched it the first time, I completely forgot it. I was like, did he buy that kid?
He has the
It's like,
found family,
good
and
investment. It's a good investment.
this movie ends in the way every truly great movie does, with an end credit song that's the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was literally what the first Snoop Dogg song like ever in a
It
film.
was it was the first Snoop
It was
Dogg, not
Dr.
just
Dre
ever
and
in a film. So look, we can talk about this for a second. So 187 is the theme song of Deep Cover. 187 parentheses Deep Cover. It was not only the first Snoop Dogg song in a movie, it was the first Snoop Dogg song ever. It
oh
was,
really?
Oh, I
and
didn't know
not
that.
only that, but it was also the first Death Row Records album ever. And because this album was such a big hit, Death Row Records was able to become one of the biggest rap album
Like
people in the entire country.
crazy.
And
Damn.
so you can make the leap that if this movie hadn't done this good, Tupac Shakur would still be alive.
Well,
Welcome to my TED Talk.
It's the
now I
effect
don't
of
like it
this
actually,
movie.
because now
And
the
now
Tupac's
ask
dead.
yourself, how good was it?
It's like that,
But
and
yeah,
then we wouldn't be getting Martha Stewart and Snoop commercials for like
Right,
Bowflex
right.
or whatever the fuck.
but
Yeah,
I think that's so funny, and I think it's the same thing where, like, Bill Duke, you know him. I know him at least from Predator. He's one of my favorite character actors. He's great in everything, but then you forget, like, not only just the risks that he took with this movie, from the cinematography to giving an unnamed, unheard of rap label and
Yeah.
an unnamed, like, I mean, Dr. Dre had a name. He was NWA, but that was it. And you're giving almost the entire song to Snoop Dogg
Yeah.
with Death Row Records. It's like you're taking this huge risk, even starring Lawrence Fishburne at the time. He wasn't a huge star, so it's like, and especially with this movie that was trying to cross over into mainstream America, it's just like, I really just want to say, for Bill Duke, who, I mean, it's just like amazing what he was able to do.
Yeah. Seriously.
yeah. No, it's this movie's incredible. I'll reiterate, this might be the best Larry Fishburne / Jeff Goldblum performance in a film.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say it.
really good, and it's
Yeah.
really different, and I think it's such a different role, especially like if you only know Lawrence Fishburne from his Matrix roles, where he's very stoic.
Or like
This
John
is
Wick, where it's the
completely
same thing.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
or John
Yeah.
Wick, or if you know only Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park and from the kid stuff he's been doing lately, it's a very different role, and I think it's very good. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun time, and it kind of like shows you, like, oh yeah, this is why everyone loves Jeff Goldblum and why everyone loves Lawrence Fishburne.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Type of role.
what's crazy is, and this is also, it's like, you talk about it because it's fantastic. Like it's a great movie, and it
Mhm.
really does kind of capture this almost like dreamlike element of the '90s. Of like it like
Yeah.
has all these like '90s trappings. By sheer chance, the same day I watched this film, I watched the '80s film No Man's Land, which is also about an undercover cop trying to like bust up a car ring. Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a good movie. It's almost like I saw the perfect example of how you do it right in this, the
Yeah.
quintessential '90s film, but it's also like timeless. And then No Man's Land, which is very forgettable. So
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think it's
Yeah.
that
check
thing
this
where,
out.
Fuck yeah.
if I was going to compare this to anything, I would probably compare it to Departed, like the best of the best of these kind of movies. Like
Yeah.
I
just
could
stacked
see it.
up.
Yeah, I'd make a case
Definitely.
for it for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, well, thank you guys. We're going to continue this series next week. We go back to New York and see if there's a king for the crown.
That's
We'll see you guys next time on The Bomb